that's the part that kind of really confuses me, is that why are certain things, at least to our standpoint, it seems like, Disney slash Marvel is kind of saying that this is a little bit less important and this is more important. Because you got to think, from 6 episodes, Secret Invasions, right? Something as big as Secret Invasions. Everybody who is a comic book nerd, who is a Marvel fan, who's just a fan in general for this type of stuff, knows how important Secret Invasions is. All right, how important an event is compared to, us getting Daredevil Born Again. I'm excited for Daredevil Born Again. I watched it when it was just on Netflix, and very, very good show, right? But for it returning again, getting 15 plus episodes, why? Compared to an important event like Secret Invasions, where it should have obviously been redone, because now that we see the final product, it should obviously be redone, and it should have had more episodes, right? Or it should have been a very, very big thought out movie.
Yeah, definitely should have been like a 3-part series or like a longer show because like WandaVision, it's just a few. I think it's like 8 episodes. I think.
Yeah, it's around there.
Around that. So for that show, it kind of made sense. It could have been a lot longer if they wanted to make it, but I think each episode was kind of served its purpose. Didn't need to be any longer or shorter. Loki is one show where I think it could have just been 12 episodes. I don't think they needed to make 6 episodes for one season and then 6 episodes for another season just to kind of milk the content and kind of hype everybody up or keep everyone hyped on the MCU. I think that was kind of their plan, was like they know it's gonna fucking die off, so I think it should have just been just one season, one series, just 12 episodes, that whole story, and every episode's a banger. But then shows like The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think it was good as it is. I do think it could have been a little longer. We should have saw a little more action with Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Rather than kind of getting it at the end where it's like, oh, now he finally knows how to work with the shield.
Right. And then you got shows like Miss Marvel. I do think that could have been a little longer. Still a good show.
Kind of explains the bangle, and then it also like helps us kind of better understand what the Marvels is about, and they explain what her bangle can do. And that's the thing, is that each show needs to serve a purpose. All right, to this day, like, there's certain shows that have not served a purpose, which is She-Hulk being the number one. All right. Moon Knight is a good show, and at the end, what is the purpose of Moon Knight? And when I say that, I don't mean it as in like, what's the purpose of Moon Knight? Like, what was Moon Knight's purpose at the end? To help us further into the multiverse saga. What does it explain for us?
Nothing.
It's a great show, but doesn't explain nothing. I'm gonna get a lot of fucking dirt in the comments for that one, but it's very, very true.
Yeah.
It explains his character, but can you not just throw that in a movie? It's like, let's be honest, we didn't get a Hawkeye movie before Hawkeye just popped up in the 2012 Avengers. Yeah, he made his little appearance in Thor in 2011, but like, he didn't need his own movie, and he's a big part of the Avengers. And look at the impact he made, all the way up until Endgame. All right,
I think with a show like She-Hulk and Moon Knight, I think for She-Hulk definitely should have been extended to the same amount of episodes that Daredevil's getting, because
18 episodes of She-Hulk.
Well, you gotta think. I think that it's bad because it wasn't well done, and again, that short amount of time is killing content for the MCU. These little 6 episode
Right.
shows, they're not getting a good story out, and I think it's kind of pressuring them, the writers, and to kind of fitting a long form story into a short format. I mean, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with movies. You know, movies are like 2 hours long. You could
Mm-hmm.
fit a good story in 2 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for shows, I feel like the way they're set up, it's a lot different, and a show could easily flop when the writing is, you can tell, is rushed.
Mm-hmm.
The show was rushed. The effects were rushed. And then Moon Knight. Moon Knight is one of those things where I think they just wanted to introduce the character and not worry about where it fits in the multiverse saga,
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of like, the first 4 movies of the MCU, right? They're just Iron Man, uh, Captain America, Hulk, and Thor. They're just those introduction movies. Then we get things like later on, like Ant Man after the first Avengers or whatever. Get Ant
That was
Man.
after Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
after Age of Ultron. But yeah, still, you get like movies like Ant Man. You get movies like Black Panther, even though Black Panther was introduced in Civil War. But like those movies still didn't serve a purpose to the greater Infinity Saga until
Mm-hmm.
later. Um, and obviously, at the beginning of the MCU, they had a plan with those first 4 movies. They weren't just thrown out there just for money. They had
Mm-hmm.
a plan. They was like, we're going to introduce these 4 characters, and we're going to bring them all together for the fifth. Then
Mm-hmm.
they, we're going to write more stories for these characters, and then bring them all together for the second. We're going to introduce more characters and write more story for the previous characters, and then bring them all in for
The last
the
bit of
last 2 movies.
movies. Yeah.
Um, so I think what they're doing now is kind of like scrambling to rewrite that formula, because they're not hitting,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest. Some movies are sure they're hitting, but if you think about it, it's the movies that had nothing to do with what they're trying to do right now.
I
The
mean,
ones
the
that they're
only.
trying to force onto the saga are the ones that are bad. They're not letting creativity flow and then kind of bringing everything together later. They're kind of just trying to force this multiverse saga on us, and it's not really hitting. I mean, the only thing right now that's carrying the multiverse saga is Loki, but that's a show, and I don't think everybody knows about the shows.
Yeah, for like
As the movies
casuals.
are what was, got everybody onto that scene, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
you get all this extra content, and it's like kind of like barraging into this world, and you're having to like force people to, oh, if you want to understand this, you gotta watch this. If you want to understand this, you gotta watch this. And granted, it's the same thing as the Avengers movie. If you're gonna watch the Avengers movies, you gotta watch the previous ones. But guess what? That's easier than having to find out which show is for which thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
It's almost
it.
like a more complicated. And when I say this, I'm not saying it's like it's gonna sound weird for me saying this, but I'll explain it. It's almost like a complicated version of how Star Wars is structured.